Welcome back, English rugby fans. England 44, France 8. What a game. I mean, from a neutral standpoint, incredibly fun. From an English standpoint, great result, obviously. From a French one, not so much. Shakespeare, what did you think of that?
Well, I think it was another strong performance by England. To be able to get the bonus point before half time, which hugely promising, really allowed all the English fans to enjoy the second half much more. I'm not sure if this was just a very strong another English performance or a very weak French performance. The French again didn't really turn up. A lot of errors on their end, but at the same time, the kicking masterclass from Farrell as well as all the back line was hugely impressive again. And yeah, let's just see how this keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, to pick up on the kicks, what you said there, what was really interesting for me was seeing actually Chris Ashton, who isn't, infamously the best kicker out there. He actually had one of the nicest little grubber kicks. And obviously the vision to have that to set up Johnny May, but focusing on the other wing, Johnny May 3 tries, second minute, 24th minute, 29th minute. I mean, world class. Do I even have to ask?
Yeah, to be honest, some of those finishing, Johnny May is world class. Some of these finishing and some of these kicks that we're seeing, the execution and the level of expertise from England, just on the technical point, is world class. And it's hard to understand where this has been for the past year. If this has just been a new added focus, because from what Eddie Jones alluded to in the post match interview, it's interesting how he views it as something that's going to be addressed by a stronger team, surely, something that the defense will mark up. But for now, it's just about finding these holes, and they're being able to do that with their long distance kicking and just really focusing on territorial game and taking things back to the basics. So, I think if we're deep in their 5 yard line, then there's a lot less chance of them scoring.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been a sort of territory kick, and as you said, I completely agree. I don't really know where this has been hiding in the wings. I've seen English sides kick away, even under Eddie Jones' possession, really poorly and just kicking it straight down the throat of a fullback or a wing, and then letting them counter attack. And just to pick up on one of the stats there, so England kicks from hand 49, France 38, and what that tells me really, obviously England kicked a lot more, but France also did their fair share of kicking. I mean, a lot of their kicks were actually quite decent, and they targeted a few players. And Daly dropped a couple balls. I mean, he played well overall. But I think France tried to play England at that game and at England's game rather in the same way that England played Ireland at their game, which was the kicking the territory game. But obviously England were a lot more successful.
Definitely. And just to kind of carry on from what they initially began in Dublin to really carry that on and that momentum in the first minute. And again, another very early score for England, which is something that's happening against New Zealand, happening against Ireland. I'm pretty sure again Australia. In all of our big games, we come out really strong, and it's just about finding that momentum and that continuity to continue to the next game. Like I've been seeing here that England apparently have never lost two back-to-back home games in the Six Nations. Right?
Really?
Yeah, they've never lost two home matches consecutively at home. So taking that into consideration, it is really interesting. Grand Slam years, who you're playing away, who you're playing at home. The difference between going to Dublin and then going to Rome is monumental. So I just think the momentum that we're going with, of course, the Grand Slam decider now is in Cardiff in the Principality Stadium, or as we all like to refer to as the Millennium Stadium. And that
I
is,
mean, it is the Millennium Stadium, full stop. The Principality is just silly.
yeah, completely silly name. I don't know what the reason for the change of name was. But yeah, I'd just like to highlight what your opinion was on the French yellow card, as well as just Nigel Owen's control of the game.
I mean, Nigel Owens is the best ref in the world, full stop. There's no question around that. I've seen a lot of really poor French refs, but Nigel's definitely up there. In terms of the actual yellow card and the penalty try, I know that Sir Clive Woodward, he specifically sort of said that he didn't agree with it, and so did O'Driscoll as well. And they were picking up on the fact that if it's a penalty try, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a yellow card. But from my understanding of the law, and I'm not pretending that I'm more clever and insightful than them two, who are professionals, obviously. But from my understanding, when there's a clear, a clear scoring opportunity and there is a cynical foul, that's automatically a yellow card and a penalty try. So the question which Clive was raising was whether it was clear cut that Chris Ashton was going to score. Obviously, if the ball popped up and Ashton caught it, he would have been tackled 100%. But if he'd kicked it, it sort of there's a big question mark as to whether he'd scored. And to be honest, personally, I think he would have scored. And it was very brave of Nigel to give that, especially considering the scoreline. When a team is winning so dominantly, more often than not, the referee will be swayed, whether it's home or away the crowd, but also by the momentum of the game. And maybe that's what Nigel was picking up on. It was definitely in England's favour. What did you think of that? Did you think it was fair?
I think he controlled the game very well. I think he's very vocal. He's very clear with the players if he's happy with them or if they need to calm down. And it was great to see him have that chat with Sinclair. Because as much as I love to see the players, I love to see them fired up and I love to see them get in each other's faces and really, get them, get some yellow cards and some little nibbly tackles around the edges. So it's good to get under their skin. But when you see him slapping unnecessarily a player's head like that, and as Nigel Owens, scolded him like a child and told him this isn't the values of rugby, and I completely agree with him. It's not something I want to see associated with kind of this English rugby to have that reputation because I think we already have a somewhat tainted reputation, I believe, in world rugby. I think we're seen to be a bit of the brutish bullies on the playground. I think with some of the big players we've got, so I just don't want to play more into that.
Yeah. I think Sinclair's always a bit of a loose cannon with that, and obviously monkey slapping an opponent when you're winning the game so comfortably is a bit strange. But that same player, the 7, I think it was, with the scrum cap for France, he threw a punch at Farrell and that didn't get called up. I wonder if he'd be cited. But yeah, I think Nigel did well in controlling it, and the way he basically chastised Jamie George as well when Jamie was talking about the scrum and how he wanted to get it going and everything. He's like, no, I decide exactly when to get the scrum going. But looking, just taking a focus on England-France in terms of the statistics, England 425 metres made, France 591. Possession, England 47, France 53. But then territory, England 54, France 46. And I think going back to what we were talking about, the territory game, that's where England are doing well. And England are very comfortable allowing the other team to attack them and run at them and actually not concede that much. Because really, defenders beaten, France, essentially had double that, 31 versus England's 16. So England do seem to be letting some tackles go, but the dominant tackles are where continuously we're doing well. And maybe that's what adds to the momentum. But it's encouraging to see a team not have the lion's share of all the stats, but continue to actually dominate so well. But it was a shame in the last 20 minutes that England sort of put their foot off the pedal, and France, dogged them down and played little sort of the individual plays and the little fights that wore down the game. And if France had done that from the beginning and they'd been able to set the pace, I think it would have been a very different game, don't you think?
Yeah, it would have been a completely different game. And just kind of alluding to what you were just saying there, I definitely think that stats don't mean everything. Especially, of course, we mentioned this previously in the Ireland game. Also, really interesting was seeing the amount, probably per minute. I think it was every 2-3 minutes, probably England had possession. They were kicking it. So it was something ridiculous where a high volume of kicks where they were able to relieve a lot of stress, a lot of tension, and just really focus on the territorial aspect of the game. So I do like this shift towards that. It is the rugby that Eddie Jones was playing when we did do the Grand Slam, when we did go unbeaten. This is the rugby that he actually started with, a very pragmatic, take it back to basic, strong forwards, very physical, but then also very intelligent kicking. So I don't see this any different from when England were playing really well. when they did a clean sweep in the Six Nations. So
Mm.
just to
Yeah, sorry, just to jump in there, I think one key difference though is penalties. So England only conceded 4 penalties in that game, which I mean I don't remember the last time that happened. Usually England, I mean last year, the year before especially, double digits, and so
mm,
I think the discipline has really been there for England. It's much more professional, and maybe some of that is down to obviously the coach, the players, more experienced players, etc. But I think Farrell, despite his reputation as a hothead, he's a natural born leader and he's very much focusing the players on the game and not, the people that they're playing against, if that makes sense.
yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Farrell stepped up and he's embraced the role fully, and it makes a lot more sense to have him than have co-captains with Hartley. So it was great to see his dad in the
Mm.
stands as well, actually supporting his son. So you know,
Yeah, I wanted to see if he was wearing an England hat, but he wasn't. But the kid he was talking to next to was, so that's encouraging.
yeah,
But yeah, but I think that's enough really on England France. Obviously, to keep things short, did you watch the other games?
yeah, I was able to watch the not the Wales Italy game, but of course the most exciting one of the weekend being the
Mm.
Ireland Scotland game, at least the most contested and the most unsure. And well, what can I really say except for classic Scotland?
Bit harsh.
Well, it's just
Um,
every time you get some hope and you think they actually have a chance. What do? They have the platform to do it. 10 points ahead. Not 10. They're on 10. Ireland on 12, so 2 points behind. Really should have been ahead going into the second half, and then they just knock on every 5 meters. They threw away the ball, the possession, the momentum. I don't know. What did you think of the game?
I think England, beg your pardon, Scotland. I mean, people will kill me if I say that. I think
Freedom.
I think Scotland did really well in the first 5 minutes, and they were very unfortunate with that try. And Ireland are a team where you can't make silly mistakes against, and obviously when Ireland pounced on that try, you just felt Scotland being deflated a little bit. And Murrayfield is a real fortress for them, but I think it worked against them a little bit because the expectation was there. They're such a strong Scottish side. They had a really successful 2018, and maybe that was preying on them. But when you see players like Finn Russell, who really, I think, in that game, he was actually world class. He was just let down a little bit by the players around him. But he looked amazing. He looks
Mm.
razor sharp, really sort of intuitive player who you love to watch play, and then obviously play with will be amazing. And you can't really predict what he's going to do. He had some incredible kicks that he did. And then there was one area which I think summed up the whole game for me and the whole attitude was specifically when Scotland tried to do a very cute move where they pretended to go to the corner for a line out from a penalty when they were deep in Irish half. It was like 5 meters, 10 meters away, and then they dummied it and actually did a quick pop pass. Ireland were fully prepared for it. The line came up, they completely smashed them, and they forced an error, which was a knock on, and then boom, Scotland lose all that momentum. Instead of getting 3 points, or instead of going for the corner and going for a maul and all that kind of stuff, and maybe getting a score, they completely lost it. And I think that summed it up perfectly for me.
Yeah, I was disappointed genuinely because I expected Scotland to do better than that, and
Mm.
especially they could have won, which is why I'm disappointed because this was a weakened Ireland squad, a squad that on both ends, big injuries, big losses. Losing Hogg early on is huge blow for Scotland.
Yeah,
He really
yeah.
makes their backs a lot more attacking focus. I've got to give big credit to Finn Russell to keep it up and do that beautiful pop pass. But then also
Mm.
you could tell that Ireland was shaken with Sexton leaving. And I think we were discussing this after the game as well. In terms of major injuries that can happen in one of the squads, Sexton being lost to Ireland would ruin any chances they have in terms of Six Nations, World Cup. England is a little more balanced. I find obviously losing Farrell would be huge. We have Ford coming in. We have a couple other fire halves we could use. So it's just it's great to see that
See,
squad depth.
I mean, just to jump in there, Shakespeare, I actually disagree with you because I mean Sexton wasn't playing very well. He was targeted in that game and obviously against England. Um, he's a very emotional player, and he's very very astute, very clever. But I think Carvery, when he came on, he was electric, and I think they could. I mean, you wouldn't want to lose Sexton, obviously, and he's been starting ahead of Carvery, but Carvery's a great replacement. Whereas if England lost Farrell, Ford is going to come in, and I'm not confident in Ford's ability to dictate a game. On the front foot, great, but when we're on the back foot or when there's a very tight contest, I wouldn't trust Ford, but I would trust Carvery. So I think I'm actually going to contradict you there and disagree. So yeah, there you go. What do you think of that?
Well, I think you just want any reason to bring in Danny Cipriani, so.
Well, Danny Cipriani would be amazing. I'd take him over Ford. But anyway, did you watch the other game at all? Did you watch the Italy Wales game?
No, but from what I've read, it was very classic or very kind of continuous from their previous performance. Not very great. It's surprising they didn't get bonus point. I need to still watch the highlights, but from what I've read and seen online, it seems to be an underwhelming performance from Wales.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult to commentate fully because I didn't watch it either. I've watched the highlights. I've read a little bit about it, but just the score alone and the fact that they didn't get a bonus point. Italy rallied at the end as well, and I think Wales have yet to hit their stride. They've got an incredible team. They had, the first time, I think, was it ever the first time that they won all of their internationals last year? So they've
Mm-hmm.
got momentum on their side, but maybe they're looking like what England were, during the Grand Slam a few years ago, because England weren't looking world class necessarily, but they were winning games, and that's the key bit. As long as you win, it doesn't matter how you play. So, I mean, the game over in Cardiff in a couple of weeks' time will be really entertaining, really exciting, and obviously Wales love to play against England, so it's gonna be really cool to watch.
All right, so to wrap things up, why don't you tell me your prediction on Socrates?
What, Wales versus England?
Wales versus England, and then move on to the other games.
Uh, Wales versus England is going to be tough. I'd say it's probably going to be 20 to Wales and England 25.
Okay, yeah, I
What do you
I
think?
I agree. Victory for England. I do believe Wales will get a losing bonus point, and everything else is open to interpretation.
Mm. And then the other games, is it Scotland France?
Yes, it should be, I believe, Scotland, France, and then Ireland, Italy.
So obviously Ireland are going to smash Italy. We know that. I mean, I don't think there's any questions around that, and I don't think there's any point really going into the score prediction either.
Yeah, bonus point.
Scotland France,
Scotland,
yeah,
France will be
bonus
a really
point.
good game. Scotland, France. I believe the game will be in Paris. Because yeah, that's the only logical thing since that we played them in Twickenham. Scotland played at home. Now it'll be their turn to play away from home. So I believe it'll be in Paris. I think, to be honest, tight game. I give the edge to France.
I think if Scotland lose, it'll be extremely disappointing for them, and realistically, be a very, very poor Six Nations, because they've got such a good squad, and they've had that momentum as well from last year. It's very difficult to say. France have now won 3 of their last 14 games, so not a great position to be in. At home, the French side are a lot better, but the crowd can be a little bit schizophrenic and can turn on them. Um, it's going to be tough. France have really got to rock up after the shambles of a game that they had today.
Yeah.
I would probably say, to be honest, I reckon Scotland could nick something.
Okay. Well.
It'll be a tight game.
Yeah. Either way, it'll be a tight game. But I just think Scotland will be too Scottish and the French will be too French. So it'll be tough to figure it out. Who will be the worst one there? But yeah, it'll be a shame. 2 weeks away now. So. No rugby for us anymore.
Well, I know it's a shame, but hey ho. At least it's back soon, and then it's World Cup year, so it's been better.
There we go.
It's pretty damn good right now. So yeah, let's see how it goes. England head and shoulders above everyone in the table. 2 bonus points against 2 big sides, and yeah, we'll see what the next couple of weeks brings. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, take care. Till next time.
Ta-ta.